Hi, my name is Max Mead, and today I'm going to be arguing the subject on whether nonviolent convicted criminals should be able to keep the right to bear arms when released from prison. Today, anyone convicted of a crime is stripped of their gun rights. But what about the nonviolent criminals that own guns? I'm arguing in favor of the nonviolent criminals and saying that they should be able to keep their gun rights when released from prison. Now I will tell you why. Did you know that there are currently 1.2 million nonviolent prisoners locked up right now? That's a pretty big number, and a small percentage of these criminals are wrongfully convicted as well. This means that the people in prison that were convicted of a crime, they didn't do it. But the federal government still convicted them, even though the evidence they provided probably wasn't substantial. And the government just had a hunch to put that person in prison, even though they weren't 100% sure that they were convicted or that they were actually guilty of the crime that they say that they convicted. This is very sad because as citizens of the United States, we're taxpayers and we're paying for these people in prison. More and more people in prison, there's not enough room, We need to put the people that deserve to be in prison, not the nonviolent criminals that are just doing these little petty crimes. We could send them somewhere to get help, but we do not need to be putting every single person in prison. It's a waste of money and a waste of time. So what's the point of taking the right to bear arms for away from nonviolent criminals? Think about that for a minute. They're nonviolent. What do they have? What threat do they pose to us? So here's a quote that I found from a JPI policy analyst. His name is Jason Zeidenberg, and here's two quotes from him. Spending more to lock up nonviolent offenders than to feed or educate our country's children is cruel and a self-fulfilling prophecy. He also said it's not just bad public policy, but it's downright mean-spirited. This is very true, and we need to fix this. Instead of sending a lot of these nonviolent criminals to prison, we should send them somewhere to get help, because a lot of these nonviolent criminals turn into violent criminals while they're in prison because of all the pressure they are under from protecting themselves, and also the pressure of maybe joining a gang while they're in prison so that they're not affected by the gangs, that they don't get beat up by the gangs or something, so they turn violent to protect themselves. For example, let's say a nonviolent criminal has a great gun collection, enjoys shooting with his son every weekend, and all of a sudden the FBI accuses him of money laundering out of nowhere, and absolutely they have no proof of it. He fights his case, but in the end, they convict him of the crime and put him in prison for 2 years. After 2 years, he's released, but his right to bear arms is taken away. We don't know why. They just do it. The government likes to make things difficult, and they like to make life harder for you for absolutely no reason. It's their job. Now, this father can no longer use his guns ever again, and he will never be able to bond with his son like that, like he used to every weekend. It's very sad, and it's not right. All because of a petty crime. Everyone I know that owns a gun is satisfied with their weapon. It's for protection, and you never know when you're going to need it for self-defense. Also, it can be used for sport as well. Many people love to go to the range for shooting, shoot at targets, have fun, It's a lot of fun. Trust me, I love doing it. And owning a gun is very serious. You must be responsible, but in the end, it's it's fun to own, but because you can go to the range with your family and shoot, and you also may need it to save your life at some point or someone else's life down the road. Visualize yourself in a situation where you might need a gun to protect yourself or someone you love. After you've done that, think about the benefit of owning a gun is. After you've done that, think about a nonviolent criminal that needs a gun to protect his or herself. Well, they aren't going to be able to, and this is why I brought the topic to the table, so that it could be discussed, and that hopefully that this issue could be resolved. I would like to someday take this issue to the United States Supreme Court, because it's absolutely ridiculous for our fellow Americans to lose their gun rights and over a petty crime, whatever the crime may be. Something must be done, and it must be done soon. I will look into what it will take to reverse this law where nonviolent criminals can obtain their right to bear arms once again. To conclude, I believe that nonviolent criminals should be able to keep their rights to bear arms, and when they are released from prison, they aren't violent, hence nonviolent criminals, and they deserve a second chance to get their life together. Also, it's our basic right as an American to bear arms and protect ourselves from the actual violent criminals that are looking to harm us. It's a privilege to own a gun. It can be used for sport at a gun range, or it could be potentially what saves your life down the road, or potentially save someone else's life down the road. You never know what could happen or whenever you'll need your gun. Thank you.